I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are trying to get everything on the go-to meeting here. Seems to be working so far. Is there anything to add right now, Tina, about the go-to meeting that we need to talk about?
No, I was just trying to make sure, please remember to speak into your microphone so that we can get as much sound coming toward the computer as possible. Everyone that is in attendance on the computer, the phone is muted right now.
Okay.
We can unmute for comments.
Okay.
If the board goes into an executive session, what you would do is we will end this call and I will have everybody, we'll end the meeting. We'll tell them what time to come back on and then they can come back on. And then the commission and whoever's in the executive session would go into a separate meeting.
Okay. I would like to know if Jonah's on, either call into somebody. Jonah, we haven't heard from you this morning. I thought you told me that you was going to be on board with this. So, see if he does call in. We're here, first of all, with County Councilor Brad Jantz, and then Jeff Heimer, and he is on, according to Tina, I think he's on.
We can't hear him because he's muted.
He's muted right now.
He's muted right now. He's with Diamond Vista Road Maintenance, and that's what we'll be talking about, road maintenance agreement for Marion County and Diamond Vista.
Yes, good morning everyone. This is Jeff Bimmer. I'm present.
Oh, good morning, Jeff.
Morning.
We have here the commission. 4 of us are here. 1 of us is off on quarantine, and county councilor's here with us. And so we appreciate you being able to attend this meeting. And I guess I'm going to start off with asking if there's any possible negotiations today. Is that what you come to bring, or what did you come to bring today?
Yeah, so my intention for this meeting, which I've been communicating with Brad Jantz
Okay.
For the last few months, this is essentially to close out the Diamond Vista RMA, at least the construction portion, and we have a post-construction inventory, which has your estimate of the damage, and we'd like to come to, closure of that agreement.
Okay.
So that would involve negotiating the post-construction inventory.
And Jeff, just to interject, this is Brad. I had sent that very brief message to you again last night, just kind of reiterating in very short terms where you and I had been on this, so that everyone was on the same page about generally what had been discussed, and did that summary. So they're aware of that as well, and kind of that where our separation is at this point. So I think everyone's hopefully at that same starting point.
Okay, my question to Brad would be, since we are under negotiations, this will be under executive session?
If you so choose. That's obviously what we have. It would be attorney-client privilege if you chose to do that, and we have a dispute at this point, so you can either treat it as a contract form of negotiations because of interpretation of the contract itself on the road maintenance agreement, or obviously if there's a significant disagreement and the parties can't get together, you have potential litigation here that's fairly obvious. So that's entirely up to the board if you want to do that in the open. I know Jeff had asked about the possibility of doing it in deference to him, so I make sure that that's recognized in an executive session. So I believe, Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that was still your wish as well.
Yes, that was my original request, since this is a negotiation.
Yep.
At this time, I'll ask the board how they feel about this. It is contract negotiations. It's been done before. I mean, we've done it before on other things like this. Don't know that the board has sat and talked face to face. Brad has been a representative up to now. So I'll just go down the line here. Kent, how do you feel?
I think it's in the best interest of the county that, you know, we can negotiate in good faith. Brad has given us that option to do so in executive session manner, and also requested by NL. So I would be in favor of going that route.
Dave?
I would vote for executive session.
Okay. Diane?
I'm not gonna vote for executive session. I really don't see the justification for it. We've talked about this in open session multiple times. I don't think there's anybody in the public that does not understand or has not heard the numbers, the figures, and know exactly where we stand in this negotiation, or I should say in this dispute. I actually feel as though it would be an improper executive session at this time. So I say it needs to be done out in public. I have nothing to hide to the public. As a county, we've done everything we were asked to do. And I think the wind company owes it to the public to let them know where they stand. Because like I said, we just talked about it on Monday. Why would we go into executive session now?
Randy, Jonah
Yep.
just joined.
Jonah just joined?
Yes.
Jonah, we've started the meeting. We've got Jeff on the line with us. And right now, I'm asking the board how they feel about going into executive session for litigation for a contract. So go ahead.
Do I have to, something? He's unmuted.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the update, Randy.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, you talking about going to the executive?
Yes. Right now I have Kent in favor, I have Dave in favor, and Diane's not. That the reason why some of the figures have been talked about in public before, that's correct?
Yes, it's been public, been made public.
I don't see anything wrong with a short meeting. I'll be in favor.
What's he saying?
He said he's in favor of a short executive.
Short executive session.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will state my feelings too. We have done this before. I think the numbers are out, aren't they, Brad, to the public, or not?
Yeah, I think that's correct. Again,
Yes.
because we-
So, you know, but it is our job, and that's why we're put here at the commission to negotiate these kind of things, and the public should understand that we will do the best for our county that we possibly can. So, with that being said, I'd like to ask Jeff, do you have any time frame that you would like to throw out?
I mean, I think what he means is how long do
Yeah.
we need to visit in executive session?
This is Jeff speaking. I would guess 15 minutes, 15 to 30.
Okay. He said 15, 30,
15 or
his
30.
suggestion. I'm gonna ask Brad for his.
Oh, I would say probably, because there's very likely, if you're doing this in the good faith negotiation, Jeff is probably gonna have some thoughts. That's part of the reason for wanting to do that, or new proposals. I would say 30 minutes is probably not an unreasonable period of time, because you're gonna hash through some
And if we
things.
could have maybe 5 minutes added on for getting the meetings transitioned.
Set up
So
into that, yeah.
potentially the executive would be 30 minutes, but then people would log back into the regular meeting in 35 minutes.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion that we recess into executive session pursuant to KSA 75-4319B for attorney-client privilege for negotiations on our contract, road maintenance agreement. Is there anything else I need to add to that, Brad?
Would have the two representatives.
Yeah, I will,
Okay.
besides. besides us. Okay. It will be for 30 minutes with the board. Brad Jantz, Jonah. Will Jonah be able to join that?
Yes.
And Jeff Heimer, all for negotiations. That is my motion for 30 minutes.
Second.
Second by Kent. That will be from, according to the clock here, roughly, and we're gonna allow some time here because we're going through setting up the go-to meetings and stuff like that, so be roughly from
9:20, to sign back on.
8:45.
No, you're at 8:42 now.
Okay, but I'm saying the meeting, the
Oh,
executive
sorry,
session
yeah, I
will be from
see.
8:45 to 9:15,
Yeah,
and then
I
the
see what you're
public's part will come back at 9:20, the go-to meeting. Tina, is that correct?
Okay, so you're gonna go into and have everybody log back on at 9:20.
Yes.
Okay,
Does that cover that?
yes.
Okay,
We just need a vote.
yeah. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. 4-1. Diane's against.
Okay, thank you.
We have my road and bridge today.
The motion? Yes, exactly.
So you need the names?
Yes, please.
I know.
Okay, well, they're all through the invitation I sent to Tina, so it's Chuck Weaver,
Okay,
Nick Coyle, Steve Williams, Alex Ritter's house.
Other parties who he has online that we didn't realize were being asked from their perspective to be in the executive.
Why is that? Why is
Okay.
that?
Nick Coyle's one of them.
okay,
I understand
so
that.
here are the, if you're gonna revise the motion that, or amend it to include the other parties, so.
Okay.
It is,
Do we have to retract the full?
I would, and I'd just do the whole thing clean and again.
I'll make a motion to wipe off or retract my first motion, due to, we've been advised there's more parties on the other end of the phone than Jeff Heimer.
Just do a superseding motion for executive session and then get
Do
it.
we have to vote to wipe mine off first? No?
Not if you're doing a supersede.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to supersede that due to the reason that I just give, that Jeff give us names of other folks that's with him on this line. And part of negotiations, right, Jeff? Or what's their reason for being online?
Well, yeah, they're part of the negotiations. I mean, it includes people from the construction and trade winds who initially drafted the RMA and my counsel, since Marion County has counsel on the line as well.
Okay.
Okay. So, my new motion to supersede the old one would be to go back in executive session, like we said, for 30 minutes. We will still bring the public back on at 9:20 to the go-to meeting, and our meeting will be for 30 minutes, executive session with, Tina, would you read those names that he gave you off?
it was Jeff Pimmer, Chuck Weaver, Nick Coyle, Steve, and Alex. I didn't catch those last names, but,
Can we get their names, Jeff?
because they're already off.
Steve Williams
Okay,
and Alex Ritter's house.
Okay, with those, the county attorney, or legal counsel, Brad Jantz, the commission, which will include Jonah and the 4 commission members present, Jonah Gary, the chairman of the board.
May I ask a question? He said, and his counsel. Which one of these is his counsel?
Yeah, Jeff, can you identify the individuals? And what I have listed is yourself, Chuck Weaver, Nick Coyle, Steve Williams, and Alex Ritterhouse. Is that the list?
So
Jeff?
was there a further question?
Yeah, did you not hear me? I said, can you identify the titles for each of the individuals? I have yourself, Chuck Weaver, Nick Coyle, Steve Williams, and Alex Ritterhouse. Is that the list?
Yes, and you need titles for
Yeah, please, just so that we have,
Okay. Jeff Pimmer, project manager. Chuck Weaver, civil supervisor. Nick Coyle, development manager. Steve Williams, construction manager. Alex Rittershouse, associate counsel.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. so you
With
have-
that being said, all those in favor say aye.
I think you need
Yeah,
a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, yeah, do. Second, Kent seconds again. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jonah?
On discussion. I think a list, that list of people, some of those people justify a third party. I don't think they're all justified to be in this executive session if it's going under the premise of legal counsel. I think we're having some third parties in here, which is going to avoid the confidentiality.
Just to confirm, they are all NL employees.
That's fine. The county has several employees too that are not present here. We didn't, if I would have
Yeah.
known all of that, we could have had Kirk and Michael here as well.
Correct.
And we
Correct.
didn't know all this, so I think we're caught short-handed.
That is a very true point. We could have had Kirk and Michaels here, and our road and bridge guys. We didn't include them because we was expected just some legal representatives maybe for Diamond Vista.
Sorry, when I spoke with Brad, he indicated that Kirk and Michael would be present, and so would the, road and bridge department. So, I guess I was notified of something else.
And I'll clarify, Jeff, I don't know that I said that they would be here, that they could be. And I had talked with Road and Bridge, with Bryce in advance, and he had not asked them to be present. I apologize if I needed to have clarified that with you. But anyway, that's what I know about it as well.
Commission, Diane does have a valid point. We don't have Kirk and Michaels here.
If that's the case, we have to reschedule.
Or do we go in and listen to just for a proposal, see what they want to propose to us today?
See what they think today. I think since we already started, we need to at least visit about it.
No, I'm
Just
totally
to let
opposed,
you know,
I mean, I'm
my intent
totally
wasn't
opposed
to
to
go
this. I think
through
that,
the, post-construction inventory item by item.
what did he say?
So, I mean, just to let you know, it's gonna be more, I suppose, high level.
Yeah. His indication, I'm sorry if you didn't hear that, Jeff just said it was not his intent to go through the post-construction audit item by item.
But that's
So-
not my concern. My concern is violating the actual attorney-client privilege with all these extra third parties in there. And we don't have that. I mean, there are regulations for actual attorney-client privilege. And we are, in my opinion, from the way I understand it, we are violating that by going into this executive session. We can do this out in the open if you wish, the way it is now. I would go along with that, but not executive session. That's what I'm saying.
It's proposed a whole new opinion here since they have a whole side and to this. If we go into open session then, Jeff, or I guess we'll get to the, cut to the fine line of it, exactly the proposal. If you don't want us to go through line item by line item, and I wasn't really prepared, however, I do have Kirk and Michael's report with me, and we all do have today.
Hey, can I just give a
Yeah.
clarification too, because some people in the meeting are confused. We are
Yes.
not in executive session. This is
Correct.
still the open
Right.
session meeting,
Yes.
so.
We've had, due to the people on the meeting, we've had some different things thrown at us. We thought it was just a legal counsel from Diamond Vista coming in, but they've got a group of all their start people, everything with them. We do not have Kirk and Michaels, who was our people with us. So I guess we're trying to determine right now whether the board wants to just go into open session and hear what Diamond Vista may present. Is there anything else that you can see, Brad, that
No.
you need to talk about otherwise, other than that? Then that would be, if they would propose their proposal in open session. Board, is that all right to ask for that, if at the point we're in now, and cancel the other? Okay,
I'd be in favor of canceling the executive session and staying in open session if they'll agree.
okay.
I guess we're done.
I'm just polled board here, haven't taken no votes, but Jeff, I'm gonna ask you to go into open session and make some proposals to us, if that's okay with you.
Well, I would like to close or give some resolutions, so if that's the only option, then I guess we have to proceed with open session.
Now, here's the thing, though,
Yeah.
Brad, do we have to wait now until 9:20?
Yeah,
Because some people got off.
yes.
Yeah,
I thought we have
that's
to.
the downside of the fact that we're doing this virtually instead of in person. We don't have the ability to call everyone back in, so I think we're gonna have to wait.
Yeah, I agree with that. 9:20 will be when we'll come back and yeah, that's,
So are you withdrawing your motion?
I am withdrawing my motion due to, after we find out who these people are that's on the phone with Jeff, we feel that we all need to be to the table with the same amount of people, or we've got the same line item. I think, from my perspective as a board member, we just really, we have a couple offers out here, and just would like to hear what Diamond Vista's wanting to do. And, because neither offer, I mean, we thought we was doing something by reducing the offer, so I think I will withdraw my motion. If Kent will withdraw his second.
Second.
So just to be clear, all these people are NL employees / representatives of Diamond Vista. No one is a third party. They were all included on the meeting invitation I sent to Tina and Brad. So
Okay.
it was always known that they would be attending.
Okay. Well, if we've made the mistake, we're trying to make sure that there's no mistake made in executive session. And so that's the reason why that we're all feeling that we just need to stay away from it at this point and go into open session and continue from there. And at least we'll be able to hear you, because I think both parties, we haven't seen much construction or reconstruction lately in that area. And so we know that you're either done with us or something, so we want to move on. And like I said, we will come back at 9:20. That's what time we told the public we would be back on the air. And so that's what we'll hold off till 9:20 and then come back in and start over again. Is that okay?
Yes.
That's fine with me, though I do have other commitments at 9:30 your time. But I think we should be able to wrap up most of it by then, or
All
I
right.
can stick around for a bit.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Sorry but we got to make the public aware of what we're doing, and that's what the whole thing is. Thank you. We'll see you at 9:20.
I understand.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Okay, so for anyone who is listening in on the computer, we are going to recess until 9:20, as the original motion was. There will be no executive session.
Yes, correct. That is correct. So, take a break.
Okay, let me, excuse me.
After we,
Oh, no. Sorry, guys, hold on one second.
It's all
Never
over.
a good sign.
I was just trying to figure out how to go back and start my
PowerPoint moment.
recording of this. Oh, there it is. Okay.
alrighty. To catch everybody up on where we've been,
This
whether-
conference will now be recorded.
to catch everybody up on where we've been, we was advised that the other, Diamond Vista had a bunch of their employees,
List all the names
personnel, with Jeff, and so after deciding that we didn't have what, for the county side, like Kirk and Michaels and our Road and Bridge boys, we didn't invite them in order to catch us up. We felt that we all decided we'd go into open session. We will turn this meeting over to Jeff and see, or Brad, and which one of them two, they know what they've been talking about, and catch the public up and go from there. Brad?
Okay, as we had discussed previously, NL in this case, or excuse me, Diamond Vista in this case had given us a response to the audit that Kirk and Michael had prepared and made a substantive offer on that. That had been reviewed and discussed by this board. Jeff and I have discussed alternatives or some other elements to that on several different calls, etc. Reached a point where I don't think we were close enough that we were reaching what I considered to be a tentative agreement. Finally determined that it was probably going to be quicker and faster to try to negotiate in person. Obviously, with the current pandemic issue, that isn't possible. So decided to move to the next step here, which is this conference call. We've had a little bit of confusion perhaps about who all was attending and when, and no concern there. Obviously, Jeff did include the list of names that he was intending to have present. And I know I had talked to Bryce about the possibility of Kirk and Michael being present. We did not choose to do that at this point because their audit seemed to be fairly self-explanatory, at least in terms of where they were at this moment. So anyway, that's where we stand currently. The long and the short of it is the offer that had previously been tendered to you involved keeping the pilot payments as contractually created in terms of the various elements to that process, and then the offer of any of the remaining rock at the one location. And there's been some discussion about that, given that appears to be confusion with the landowner as to who currently has custody and control and even ownership of that remaining material. And then there was the cash payment discussed at $150,000, and are coming back with a counter of $300,000. That's still where we stand at this point. Jeff, you feel free to disagree or tell me if there's anything else that we need to throw into that process at this point, and that's kind of our jumping off point as far as I know.
So the original deal I made was what you indicated, which was obviously a non-binding offer as per my email.
Right.
And that was contingent on closing out the RMA in November. So, I mean, that has come and gone. I guess I would just like to highlight first off that we have paid an exorbitant amount for Kirk and Michael. My totals right now have $890,000 was paid for Kirk and Michael to do the consulting. When originally, when the RMA was contemplated, they only were supposed to spend no more than $250,000. So Kirk and Michael is about $640,000 over budget. Diamond Vista throughout a lot of the project, I was mostly involved this year, but we've been trying to just close this with the county directly, to reduce the Kirk and Michael costs, and we were rejected on that front multiple times. Since I made you guys that first offer, I kept getting more and more Kirk and Michael invoices, and the cost just kind of kept going. They were never being controlled by the county because Diamond Vista has no right to challenge the billings under the RMA. We just have to pay them, and then if they go over $250,000 under the pilot agreement, Diamond Vista has the right to deduct that overage from the pilot payments. Just so it's clear, Diamond Vista has one pilot with the county and two pilots with the different school boards. School board pilots have zero relation to the RMA discussion, and they won't be impacted at all. But since Diamond Vista has received such an enormous and in our opinion, unmitigated costs for Kirk and Michael. I cannot pay the pilot, I cannot not deduct future pilot payments. So I've also taken a look at the Kirk and Michael post-construction inventory, which by the way was submitted a month late, and Diamond Vista was never given an opportunity to review it with Kirk for the RMA. They came back with a potential damage of $474,000, and now after doing our internal review, and this is just based on items that have either been completed or were not in the pre-construction inventory, or were not caused by the project. We see that we justifiably owe the county $241,000 with some change. So I think right now, the way our discussion should go, according to the RMA, is I will send you comments on the post-construction inventory, highlighting our disagreement, and then we can work together to agree to what that amount would be. Diamond Vista would much rather pay the settlement amount or pay the post-construction inventory totals that are justified and reasonable than bring back contractors to repair it ourselves.
Can you give me the dollar figure that you just said that you feel is reasonable?
I'll give you a red line version of the post-construction inventory so you guys can see every comment we have. But high level, the number is $241,500.
What was that number again?
241,500.
241,500.
If that amount was paid to the county, you would expect the RMA agreement to go away?
Under the RMA agreement, we have to pay out the justified post-construction inventory items.
Right.
So, under our obligation under the agreement is to pay that, yes, the agreed to or justifiable amount.
And
We have
at
no
this
problem coming to that agreement.
At this point, Jeff, if this was reached, the pilot payment would not be disturbed from here on?
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to disturb the pilot payment. I've made multiple offers to try to close this quickly and effectively, and I kept getting pushback and projections and then requests for more money from the county. So I feel like the county has passed on the best case offer I could have provided. And since I made those offers, Kirk and Michael has continuously been sending invoices to us, which, right, as I clarified before, go to the county for approval, and then I have no choice but to pay them. So, I mean, in our opinion, Kirk and Michael was basically given a blank check to perform this project. Diamond Vista was more than willing to close things out mutually with the county throughout our reclamation phase, which was delayed due to the excessive weather, which I understand. But right now, I'm only talking about the Kirk and Michael fees. There are also legal fees that could be back-charged to the RMA, but I haven't really considered those at this time. Or sorry, to the pilot, back-charged to
I have
the
a
pilot.
question.
But right now, I'm just looking at Kirk and Michael, which I'll say again, they've been paid $890,000.
Jeff, just,
$890,000 to basically, right, sit down and that's how much they've been paid, and it's been completely unmitigated. And it was always the term of the agreement that the county should be controlling those costs as if it was their own.
No, that's not true.
and I guess I just want to clarify one more time, based on the different times we've discussed this. Currently, you mentioned some additional billings that you have been getting. I don't know how current those are or when you most recently got one, but is that included in your total overage, as you noted it, of $890,000 paid, or $640 above the $250? Or are there still additional bills that you've received since then that would add to that total?
So I believe this includes the fee for the post-construction inventory.
Okay, so,
I'll check, that's the number I have from my accounting team, and I'll make sure I provide you the correct forecast from Kirk and Michael.
okay.
I mean, we could always just look at their recent invoices and see what the grand total has been.
Yeah, I just was curious. I just wanted to be sure I was noting these numbers, whether there was still something that you were receiving in the last few weeks or something that I wasn't aware of in terms of additional billings.
My understanding is we received the last ones, I think, end of January, February time.
Okay, okay.
So can I comment on that for you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all I have for right now.
Okay, Jeff, I will have my county clerk here and she will make a few comments, and then I've got board members that'd like to ask some questions, and we'll see if we can get right on through this.
Okay, on the engineering, the amount that I'm showing is $770,005.43. And when, I believe you guys were in negotiations, that was October, and that's the last payment that I received from Diamond Vista for Kirkham Michael. And it was, I believe, Brad had indicated there would still be one outstanding and at that time.
That was my understanding.
So I received a billing from Kirkham Michael on November 29th, and then another one in December, and December or January, which was their very final one for the just the closeout for the report, which I believe that was known about. So we have not received a payment. I did forward both of those on. So there were 2 invoices that would have been forwarded on to Anel after you started negotiating. I believe it was known that there would be at least one, if not another short one at that time. And those 2 total $32,209.50, and those have not been reimbursed by Anel at this time that I have seen. Now, I did ask the treasurer's office to check, and I have not heard back from them yet to see if they have received a payment, and maybe it was not applied to this fund. But the total that we have paid the engineer I believe is the $770 according to my figures. And the amount that has been reimbursed is $737,795.93.
Okay, I have another board member who'd like to ask you a question, Jeff. Yeah.
Well, that was my question. I think
Okay.
Tina has addressed that.
Okay.
I guess the numbers just aren't matching here, but the way this was supposed to work, where all of those invoices flowed through the county clerk's office, so they should be a reliable number.
Jonah, we have Jonah, he's quarantined, he's our chairman. Do you have any comments at this time, Jonah, that you can make?
Yeah, Brad, how did that, I think I read somewhere where the pilot couldn't be affected unless it was due to taxes,
Well,
right?
no, the agreement that you guys have, this predates me by quite a bit, but what Jeff is indicating is their ability on overages above $250,000 are something that can be adjusted in those pilot payments, so that in the event that the consultant exceeded that $250,000 cap, they have the ability to look at the reduction of the pilot payments. And I think that's what he's referring to.
Okay, well, this is,
Sorry if I misrepresented the Kirkham number. I think actually, again, the number that's given was it might have been including the third-party consultant you guys hired. So I mean, whatever number is in your latest, or in the latest and greatest Kirkham Michael's invoices are the ones we would have paid. So I just want to clarify that we should both have the same information. If there's some discrepancy, I'll make sure to correct it.
Okay. Do you have any offers then? Yeah, hang on. I have one more board member down here, Diane, that's been with us on through the whole project, and she'd like to ask you a question, Jeff.
Jeff, I'd like to ask you a question, and I'm gonna ask, is Nick Coyle present with you now?
Yes, I'm present. Can you hear me?
Okay. Nick, I remember very well when we discussed this road maintenance agreement, and it was signed February the 28th, 2018. I remember your presence, and if I'm not mistaken, you had your legal counsel there as well. And I remember your comments, and you said that the Kirk and Michael bill, which you were well aware of, before we even entered into these contracts, you knew that Kirk and Michael's bill at that time was $650,000 for services to be rendered through the course of this project. It's interesting to me that as I go through the road maintenance agreement, I remember also Nick Coyle, when we were discussing this, Nick made the statement that the amount was unreasonable, but he then went on to say, if this is what the county is gonna do and hire him, we will pay. So he made that public statement, and if I'm not mistaken, I was recording the meetings at that time, and I do have to go back, but I remember that very well, that Nick stated that we will pay if this is what you're gonna do. So I took him at his word on that, and that agreement then was signed, the road maintenance agreement was signed, and in that road maintenance agreement, to just solidify the fact that they were very well aware of our counsel, Kirk and Michael, they are deemed in the contract as a consultant, and the consultant is referred to within the contract 57 times. So it should come to no surprise to anybody on your side of the cost. Now I understand there's a little bit of run over here if you go with the 770 versus the 650,000, but that is certainly not totally dramatic. The next point I want to make out is you keep referring back to our pilot agreement, which quite frankly was not signed or entered into for 5 months after this road maintenance agreement was made. And it just seemed to me, as soon as we got that pilot agreement, which actually our attorney at that time, Pat Hughes, had to negotiate absolutely incredible to even get you to sign that pilot agreement. He had several letters back and forth with you, meetings, conferences, and so on and so forth. And it was only at that time, 5 months after you entered into the road maintenance agreement, knowing about Kirk and Michael, that you then put it to us in the road maintenance agreement that you're going to take some of that money back from our hiring of Kirk and Michael. And I'm going to ask you to justify, please, your integrity in doing that. Because to me, you signed these contracts, and from day one, you balk about things that you knew right up front. We were perfectly honest with you. So justify to us, please, why you're doing this.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Commissioner. So, as I'm sure you remember.
I'm afraid, can you speak up?
Hey, Nick, we can't hear you now. We heard you really well at first, and then it got really quiet.
Is this any better?
Yes.
Okay. And let me know if you can't hear me at any point during this.
Terrible.
But there's quite a bit of background to go through, obviously. So, Commissioner Dalkey, Commissioner Becker, Commissioner Novak, I'm sure you remember when I sat before you with the initial Kirk and Michael receipt, the invoice that we received prior to construction for $102,000, if my memory serves. I sat with you, and this is on the record, and it's recorded video, and I implored you commissioners to take a look at these invoices as if you were paying with your own money. I had sat through a number of public meetings where you all put considerable scrutiny on invoices of $100. So I was asking you to look at an invoice of $102,000 paid to a third-party engineer prior to construction, which I would include had a payment for review of the RMA agreement that was in excess of what we paid both our internal counsel and the county's counsel to draft the agreement. They charged more to review the agreement than we paid for your council and Tradewinds Council to draft the agreement. So I continued to, I did all affect you to look at those invoices as if they were your own. Additionally, I said that, and this is 100% accurate, Tradewind had never paid a third-party engineer for third-party engineering expenses in a project pre to post-construction of more than $75,000. I said we could cover something up to $150,000, and in the pilot, in my opinion, we were considerably more generous by making it $250,000. But the charges did not run amok beyond $650,000. The charges ran amok beyond $150,000. I will also add that we are not obligated to provide a pilot payment for the first 10 years, and another generator that comes online in the county does not have to pay a pilot in the first 10 years. We, as an act of good faith, made that pilot agreement. So the fact that you had to wait 5 months for it, I don't see how that really applies here. The fact of the matter is that, like Jeff has said, we wrote a blank check and we had nothing else. The county refused to allow us to put a limit on First and Michael. We couldn't cap their expenses. We couldn't cap Enel or Tradewind's liability. And so that is why I sat in front of you in a public meeting and took you line by line through an invoice that was, in my opinion, entirely unreasonable. And I asked you to look at these as if you were paying with your own money.
And I'm not disputing that, Nick. In fact, I even said that you said that the bill was way too high. But then you also said, but if that is the wishes of the county, we will pay it. So I didn't hear your, I didn't, but you're taking it back. I mean, you give it with one hand and take it away with the other, is my point. So,
It's very clear that these projects they are not endless supplies of money. Okay, one way of looking at it is we are not obligated to provide a pilot. 100% not obligated to provide a pilot. We did not have to do that. So what we could have done instead is say, okay, that these third-party engineering expenses are going to be so egregious that we won't be able to afford a pilot, at which point we would not have offered the county a pilot. This is another reason that it was important to make sure that the school districts got a separate agreement that couldn't be touched, because there was a third-party engineer in the county that was going to take money and take value away from the county. This is $750 million paid to a third-party engineer for looking at the roads. That is money that's paid and value that comes out of the county. So by giving you a pilot opportunity, regardless of the reimbursement method for third-party engineering, we were not beholden to the county to offer a pilot. That is additional funds that that we are not obligated to give. So I think it's being looked at the wrong way. We could have just not offered a pilot because we were suspicious that these third-party engineering expenses were going to get out of hand. They did, but we are still paying a pilot.
so I wonder,
And you
Nick,
can
how
see
many
we have a
projects?
minimum- There's a minimum that we owe the county every year. We can't take it all away. We can't take it away until we are reimbursed for expenses that exceed $250,000, which again is so much higher. than not just Tradewind, but other developers spend for someone to look at roads while they're under construction.
So Nick, I'm gonna turn it back over to everybody else, and I made my comments, but I do wanna just close with this. And I would ask you, I just would question how many projects you would be able to build if you did not offer the pilot. And as far as Kirk and Michael is concerned, I would also question the fact that they do have a resume with 8, 9 different counties that they do perform these same services for, and they do take care of the counties very well. I do know they are in Clark County right now, and they are working with your company there, doing pretty much the same thing. So I would just say, in my opinion and my point on this right here is, I am exceedingly disappointed with the fact that we're having this discussion, because I believe that the county has been 100% upfront and honest with you. We didn't pull an engineer in here on the sly or in behind. We did everything right up front. And so I just feel as though we are being taken advantage of. And so I just want you to know that if, I'm not gonna enter into any more of these negotiations with you, I'm gonna let the other commissioners do that. But I do attend an awful lot of trainings. And I do have an awful lot of association with other commissioners and stuff. And I do promise you that I will share our experience with the other counties. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to the rest of the commissioners. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Other commissioner, Dave, anything right now? Kent,
No.
anything?
No, I just think we need to move to come up with some kind of a final plan for final action.
Yeah.
So we don't waste our time and your time, but
Correct.
do what's right.
I think we could sit here and say just as much on the other side, but that's not what we're here for today. I know you guys want to move on, we want to move on, and I would still be interested in hearing some sort of settlement offer to where that Kirk and Michaels is, if they have a bill out that is taken care of, and that some sort of settlement offer that over the, I think it's $467,000, but you guys feel is not correct, and you know there's both sides to that too. But I would like to have something in writing of what you final settlement, get that paid, and leave our pilot payments alone from here on. Is that possible?
This is Jeff speaking. Sorry, I was getting a lot of strange background noise. I don't know if anyone else was. It sounded like a little wavy.
Okay.
I think you want me to send over what our proposal is in writing. Is that correct?
I'm gonna let Brad finish here, so in case I'm speaking too loud or whatever. But Brad, go ahead. You've heard what
I think that's kind of the sum total, Jeff, of what was being said in that instance by Commissioner Dahlke, was just to get something firm. I think he did add to it. He would like, in terms of a proposal, to know if there's going to be anything that would allow those pilot payments to be left alone, if I'm saying that correctly. So, but yes, the short form request was for something in the way of a final proposal, and then he added to that along with leaving the pilot payments alone, if possible.
Okay, I will send that over. There was another thing I mentioned previously was, and you emailed it to me, I see, was about the rock and the rock that was left over. Do you still want that? Because I need to know that ASAP, otherwise I have to donate it.
Yes, if you want to.
Donate it is what he said.
Okay, so did you question him about that? Okay, so I have an email that says that rock already belongs to the property owner that you leased that lay yard down to. And I have an email chain from Kirk and Michael and Bryce Goebel as to the what was discussed at the meeting. And also I know that Brad Bacchus was notified that that rock belongs to him. Your lease with him for the lay yard expired several months ago. And they are all under the impression that that rock now belongs, and the other materials belong to them. And this email chain that I have from that meeting does actually assert that to be the fact. So I don't think the rock is anything appropriate that we should be discussing. It's already been given away.
Who signed it?
Okay, well, I never had confirmation from the landowner, but that's fine for me. So I'll send over the settlement, hopefully very shortly, and my comments on the post-construction inventory. I think as Nick very eloquently said, Vanell, or Diamond Vista, I should say, was very clear that Kirk and Michael's costs were exorbitant. I'd just like to highlight that multiple times. Vanell, or Diamond Vista, has tried working directly with the county and the road and bridge department, to address road repairs together without Kirk and Michael. We asked multiple times, mostly informally, to let go of Kirk and Michael to reduce the costs to the county, and that was still not done. So I am going to reduce pilot payments. I don't think it's fair for Diamond Vista to suffer the damage of an out-of-control consultant. So I will send over the comments hopefully next week, late next week.
Final comments from commission? Okay. There is some other avenues that we might look at too. That's not all the contract that's been mentioned. There's other things too here, but I think the main goal is you want to move on, we want to move on, and so I think we want to make sure there's some things that, that we've had. I don't know how many meetings we've had since Nick was in here, but a lot of them that's happened, it didn't happen. We was told it would happen with different people. I think there's been quite a few different people involved in your construction progress and stuff like that. And when we asked for a lot of things, it was never done. So I think there's some discontent on both sides. And like I said, we're willing to listen to a decent proposal and look at that and see what we can do. So, and I thank you for your time this morning. Anybody have any final questions on this side? Jonah.
Randy, just to top off what you were just saying, I think there's a clause in there about 60 days and then breach. So.
Yes. So, and we will, like I said, I think our goal is we want to promote what you guys have done. There's people up there that's on both sides of the project, but it's been it's over with, and here we are again this year in a wet project and a wet summer or spring. So, but we understand you guys had a lot of trouble. We know that, and we just want to move on so we can get our roads fixed and get them going. So, do you guys have any final comments, Jeff, other than what you just said?
No, thank you. I will. I'll provide my comments in the post-construction inventory as soon as possible.
Alrighty, we want to move on it. We don't know what's going to happen with everything that's going around in our world and stuff, but we want to move on and get this accomplished. So appreciate your time, and hopefully we can come to an agreement that everybody likes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yes, sir. That's it for today. We will wait for their proposal to get to us. So either through Brad or somehow. Yeah, probably through Brad. All right, moving on to the next agenda item. County Councilor Brad Jantz, attorney-client business.
This one definitely is litigation, and it is one that I'd request an executive session on. Probably 15 minutes, I think, should be fine.
Okay. Is it? I've got a conference call at 10 o'clock. Yeah.
This can hold until Monday if it needs to. It is not something we have to do today. Given that this is difficult, you know.
I've got the chairman sitting online. I mean,
Or we can designate someone to take your place also.
Why don't you just
Well, the
leave this one
chairman's
until
online.
Monday? Just leave it till Monday. It's difficult with the logistics today, so.
yeah. Okay, leave that till Monday. Okay?
Well, just Monday will be, I will still be right here, but is anything in this, I mean,
And Monday, we're probably going to be still doing this go-to meeting setup indefinitely, and it may become our primary way of meeting, depending on what happens. So, it just, I mean, it's fine either way, but we'll still have this on Monday with the.
Well, let's just try it. Let's try it and see if Jonah can take back the meeting, and I will leave the meeting. And try it, see if we can, see how it works.
Sure.
I will leave the meeting here at 3 minutes till 10 o'clock.
You not coming back?
I could be back, I don't know. I don't know how long.
I thought you were leaving.
Sometimes it takes 30 minutes, sometimes not.
You leaving the building or?
Yeah, I'm leaving the building.
Okay. Did Mike Myers wanna talk to us?
Okay, so,
Not yet.
does Jonah know he's in charge?
Okay, Jonah, are you there? Did you hear that Randy is leaving the meeting?
yeah, what purpose, why? Didn't catch that.
Attorney-client, pending litigation.
Okay. Now, bear with me, I don't have my cheat sheet, so, so,
Do you wanna make the motion? Becky, or make the
Somebody else
motion
can
for
make
it?
the
I can do it.
You have
Yeah,
your sheet.
I
know
think
you have
Ken's
your
going
sheet.
to.
okay.
I'll take care of that, Jonah.
How long do you need, Brett?
You said 15.
15.
Okay, I'll move to recess into executive order in order to discuss, item number 2, consultation of our attorney-client privilege in order to discuss pending litigation pursuant to KSA 75-431-9B with the, commission and Brad
Can you shut the door, Phyllis?
for 15 minutes. 15 minutes for the executive session and then additional 5 minutes to get back, allow the public to get back on the, go to meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
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 Okay, so that's,
4.
Jonah, that was 4-0, and then, so it's 9:58 right now, so, that would be 10:18.
10, yeah,
That everyone needs to be back on at 10:18.
yeah,
All
everyone
right,
back on.
and I'm going to go ahead and, kick everyone off this. And Jonah, can you join us in the executive session room?
Not a problem.
Okay.
I usually use the whoever's talking or active cameras.
What?
I said on my screen, I always use the who's talking or active cameras.
Okay, where's that?
Up there at the top where it says view who's talking or you
There we
may
go.
say
Okay, got it.
everyone.
Yep,
So then it will naturally click back and forth if you were view who's talking.
okay, I switched that.
Yeah, well, it's however you guys want to view it there.
No, that's good, I like that better.
Yeah. And then whenever you share your screen, it will go to a different mode. Yeah. And then you can select active cameras
Where is that?
Same place, where your tiles were up in the middle, where it says, who's talking? At the top. Well, I don't see it
Yes.
on yours right now.
Yep. Mm.
Yeah, you gotta bring your go-to meeting back up and minimize it, or not minimize it, but,
Okay, I'll do something different here. Yeah, sorry.
Kind of back up.
I'm just learning.
yeah, no, that's.
It's
I had
certainly
a
not
meeting
seamless.
yesterday with, Northwest, or North Central Tech College. And they use Zoom, it's almost identical to this.
No, that's not what I want to do either. Okay.
But anyway.
I don't know how to make that. Okay, well, irregardless.
We
Okay.
see you.
Yeah, we can see you. So can you see the room?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
And I can see your screen, so if you
Oh.
wanna pop anything up, so.
okay. I will. Can you still see it?
Yep.
Okay.
It's, still showing, have a great meeting.
Oh, it is.
Should be showing the agenda.
Now can you see the agenda? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jonah, for the help. I'm gonna go ahead and record now. Okay?
Oh, thank you for setting all this up.
Yeah.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Okay, out of open session, or executive session, no actions taken. We'll move on to, the commission discussion, right? If there's no objections. Does anybody have anything to say in the discussion today? Other than our COVID-19 items?
So are you saying other than those or including those?
Oh, other than the COVID stuff, because we're gonna go through that.
Okay. Other than that. Okay,
Yeah.
I wanna ask Brad a question. I know we were talking about the incompatibility of offices a little bit a while back. And there was a question asked about the planning and zoning versus somebody who's also on a township. If there was any correlation in the incompatibility of offices in that. Have you ever had a chance to kind of confirm that one way or the other?
Yeah, I still looked at that. I take kind of the very conservative approach to that and do consider that duality to exist based upon what their criteria are and what the AG's office has given us in the way of guidance. So yeah, I still think you've got a conflict issue there.
And so how would you recommend that we take care of that then? Because I know there are several.
In that instance, it's a choice that gets made by the individual. They're not compelled to do one or the other, but they ultimately, if you have that conflict or that duality of offices, they have to choose one. They can serve in one or the other role, but not both.
So is that something then that you would recommend that we do?
Yeah, I think I would at this point. If any of those individuals want to contact me and talk their way through this, I'll be happy to try to explain it to them and why I take that position. You can argue in some of the, because it's all a little bit, it's subjective, but yet it has a subjectivity to it. What you're always looking at is there in some way, in serving one role as related to the other, an interrelationship in terms of control, budget, the economic element of it, oversight. And if you think about what we do relative to the townships, they have some independence but not complete. And so in those cases, that's where it triggers it. And that's why I just don't want to put anybody in a position of being in a bind over that at some point in the future. And when you look at the examples of them, and there are a number of them, I think Tina even has those in the one manual that you use, and I do too, and they go give them and then they give examples of why and go through the explanations. it casts a fairly broad net as long as there's that interrelationship.
I don't believe the township is listed.
Not in yours.
In the desk book
No.
as a conflict with planning and zoning.
But that's why I qualify this as I do. I look at it that way because it's just, the risk of it is something that I try to avoid. So, and it is avoidable and it's readily avoidable.
Are you able to give us a letter stating, that,
Sure.
I mean, because if that's the way the board wants to go, because it hasn't been. the
I
way that they've
think
gone in the
before anybody
past.
takes any action, that should happen. I should give that to you so that we have that to rely upon and we have that in the file. And I will, one more time, although they were asking me to do it in letter request form for an opinion with the Attorney General's office, and at that point, that's, now it's probably even further out, but, it takes several months to get that. And so we kind of talked as much as we could via phone about that sort of thing and kind of came to the conclusion that, well, it's at least a potential, and if so, then you take the safe route and just go with the dualities problem. That answer it?
That
best you
answer
can,
it.
yeah.
Are we back on coronavirus policies?
Are we ready to go back to, Kent asked if we're ready to go back to the coronavirus discussion.
Yeah, as long as nobody else has anything else to add right now, I'm more than happy to move on.
And can I ask one other question then? Can we put something on the agenda, Jonah, would you mind, to talk about employee education, the way we handle that? We do have a situation, and we've had to happen many, many times, to where the county pays for further education for employees, and they get this massive amount of education, and then they get other jobs. And I'm just thinking, in most counties and in businesses for sure, when you pay for education to, have them excel in their jobs, then there's usually a contract, or at least, there's a contract or something to where they will work at that business or at that county for a period of time in return for that form of education. And that is something that our county does not have in place. And I know we lost another employee here just a week or so ago that we have extended a lot of education to. And now they go to another entity or place, whatever, with that education. I just think I think the employees need to have a little skin in the game for the free education that we give them. I'd like to put it on the agenda. I guess I'm asking to put it on the agenda for further discussion and review.
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda, something to discuss.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, Randy's coming back into the room. Okay.
Randy, if you're okay with it, I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
Okay, what do we got left to discuss?
Final agenda.
Final item, county policies.
Yes. Yep.
I'm gonna turn it on over to Tina. It's going right on around.
Well, the things that I had asked you to think about last week, but also I need you to be thinking about whether, we've closed the actual doors of the offices. We are requiring people to call or email ahead. Court services are completely canceled. They are not having customers upstairs. And the only things they're doing are emergency things, and those are gonna all be handled as they come up. There are a lot of county courthouses and facilities all across the state that have actually closed and locked their doors. We have not done the outside doors at this time. There are a lot of facilities that are transferring to working as much as possible from remote locations, still providing services, but people have to call and make arrangements for those services. And I think this board really needs to be considering that potential of locking the doors, having the phone numbers up there, and allowing us to provide those services as it is safe to do so. Also, the state, that the department that oversees driver's license, the vehicles, all of that has closed.
And your plan there would be the doors to the building be locked, but yet our essential people would, somebody.
We would have some minimal staffing.
Minimal staffing.
Within the building, and then others could be working remotely and following the recommendations of staying in your homes.
So will they?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay,
No,
Jonah
go
was
ahead.
talking.
Jonah?
Yeah, I think that's wise, especially to have part of your staff at home. That way your whole shift doesn't sink at once. If we have a breakout, taking the precautions, staying behind the doors. It's actually encouraging people to do what they can from online or through mail. I think we ought to take it seriously and this thing will go way quicker.
I spoke to several counties yesterday. Chase County's locked with essential services inside, of course, that can be reached telephone or remotely. Butler County is now is locked as of the 23rd. They will review that. They're locked until April 3rd, and then they will review it again. Dickinson County is operating in the same manner that we are at this point. Of course, you know, everything is subject to change daily, but that's where they are. Of course, Butler County has had a positive. Chase County has not, but Morris County has had 2, and those 2 people were in Chase County last Friday night. So I think in the best interest of our employees, we need to lock down at least for a similar period of time with a further review, or indefinitely, whatever the commission decides. I always kind of like to see my date myself. I always kind of like to see a date. Okay, we'll look at it again.
According to the governor's executive order, she puts down 7-day increments of reviewing.
Well,
Every
that's,
7 days, and then we vote on what we're gonna do every 7 days. That's in her executive order.
oh, it's an executive order.
Yeah, she has a list of, I got her whole executive order that was sent to me, and all the safeguards that we should be doing. I noticed that there are just a little bit of differences. For example, I know that our county is recommending no gatherings more of 10 people at a time is the recommendation. She's recommending 50, no more than 50 people.
Right.
She's also recommending, I mean, she has a whole list.
Right, yeah, I've looked at those too.
Yeah, and they're like just basically social distancing in some cases, you know.
And that's the one I would point to that has come up repeatedly in the last few days. Yes, it's still 50, that way not 10, although a lot are observing the 10. Problem that we have is like this morning, we're having this meeting, but did we do it compliant with that order? Probably not. And the reason being the social distancing, maintaining the 6 feet with everyone in the room and judiciously making that happen. Well, it's going to be logistically incredibly difficult for us to do that. But that's, unless you want to start doing virtual meetings.
But the 7-day review
Our
would
meeting
be a
throws up
minimum.
first.
If we wanted to do 14 days or 21 days, we could still do that.
You can.
I think we just lost our meeting here.
Yeah, unless
Well-
Jonah has frozen in place, I think you're right.
Frozen
Yeah.
time.
Well, the 7 or the 14 days, I don't care.
Okay, I
what
think
it
we
is.
need
I
to
was just
pause.
pointing that out,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think maybe we need to just address what we're gonna do first.
We just need
Yeah,
to
let's-
pause
let's-
for a second, not talk for a moment, please.
You too.
Everyone, just stop. Okay.
Poor guy, we gotta unfreeze him sometime.
He's got to get stiff neck.
Yeah, I had to like,
Yeah, we've lost internet signal to the building.
okay, I don't have my
It's not
hotspot here.
you-
Does
it's
anybody
not
have
you,
their
Ken.
hotspot
Yeah,
with
yeah,
them?
yeah, yeah, right here.
We got one phone.
You need one?
Yeah.
But don't you have to have internet service outside the building to use that?
Nope.
There we go.
Might need it.
Turn it on.
As long as Verizon's not down, we should be able to get it.
They were slow this morning. I mean, the phone calls went through. But they did go through.
Yeah, that's gonna be the biggest problem,
Yeah.
especially when the kids go back online.
Yeah.
We'll just have to do the best that we can.
I spent 5 minutes trying to get onto this conference call and
Yeah.
line busy out there, so I walked in, went to the restroom, then I went down there, and all of a sudden, it went through, passed me right through to my code, but that's on that, but now we're going, Monday, we will go to Teams on this thing, on the computer, going to that instead of going through the
It's waking up. This is
So busy.
waking up. It'll take a minute
Team
to get back
meeting
on.
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
whole company meeting.
Or you just
There's
work
a
as a
system,
team.
there's a system on this computer called Teams,
Oh.
and I don't know.
It's just my usage.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm just saying the name of
Sounds good.
it. Yeah.
They show me?
And I'm gonna have to.
Just, if anyone calls, tell them we lost internet, but we're going to an alternate internet source, so they should be able to get back on in about 5 minutes,
Okay.
or less.
I think Jonah's gonna call in if you have the phone on speaker so he can.
Okay.
Mine don't vibrate.
I don't even know where my phone is.
Hey, Tina.
Yeah. Okay, but, can you pass the phone over, please?
Is it not a good time?
It's fine, it's just, while I'm setting it up,
Oh, that edge on that thing.
here we go, thanks. I'm just trying to make it to where I can do both at the same time, so I don't stay on too long. Yeah, so that's great.
Hello, sir.
I think it's got 17 viewers in the room with me.
Our internet's down at the courthouse. We're back, we're going,
Okay.
Hosting the meeting.
we're going to a
Hotspot.
hotspot.
Okay.
Can you hear me? This is Ashley.
Yep.
The internet went down, so it should be back up in about 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are going to a hotspot, so.
Okay,
What kind of phone do you have? That is,
For Verizon.
oh, it's a Verizon?
all right, my
Well,
computer is just
it's a-
not like.
No, what kind?
10 Motorola.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I want a Motorola.
Okay, we're still, this video camera's still recording too, up there.
Don't get close, just show me the phone.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try this again.
It's an iPhone, Apple.
Oh.
What?
Okay,
Sorry.
get this internet.
I like Motorola's, but that is a loudspeaker, that's good.
When you guys go online, can you give me a shout so I can advertise it to everybody else that's on here?
Will they have to redo it again, or?
I'm not sure what's going to take place, but at least I can get the message out to everybody that stays online with me.
Yeah, okay, good idea.
Are you campaigning while the meeting's going on?
Yeah. Well, gotta do something.
Your own town hall, virtual town hall.
This is saying it's connecting to the internet.
It's just getting ready to take a poll test and see how everybody likes this.
Well,
Actually, you sound a whole lot better on the phone than you did on the computer.
Yeah.
At least I can hear
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Awesome.
At least I can hear you.
Yeah. That's if you guys were to go to a meeting on your own PCs, that my voice would play back through your speakers right in front of you. It's just a thought, an option.
You get big echoes then.
Well, not really echoes. You'd have to shut your mics off. You only want Tina to keep her mic on.
Okay, let's see.
Are you doing okay, or what's on the phone?
Well, I'm just trying to get back on with a different internet connection, and I see ours is back up again.
They're working on getting a hotspot
I'll tell them that you'll call.
to get us back online.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going through that.
And that, and that.
There. It's on the agenda for next
Here's
Sunday.
Tina. Shows Tina back.
Oh,
Yep,
Never
it's
noticed.
Hey.
now back on.
my phone said 9:30.
active camera, but it says you're here. Okay. Yep.
Should show now.
Okay, I think,
Okay, I gotta set my mic on.
I'm hanging up, Jonah.
Alright.
Get too many people talking here.
okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah,
Okay.
gonna have some technical glitches here and there.
Okay, we're back and we're discussing how the courthouse is doing and things that we need to be thinking of. One of my concerns is how the commission will move forward here to accomplish this. It's been mentioned, maybe we go upstairs, but I think that would just create a whole, to go to the courthouse, to the courtroom to get some spacing, when you was talking about the spacing.
I can move down further this way, and you can move down further that way. I mean, I don't have to be temporarily in this box.
I mean,
We can spread out.
you know,
I mean, we're just
Can
gonna
you
have,
hear us
we're just
in here,
gonna have to
Jonah?
limit
Yeah, I can hear
Public.
you. Just
And that's always the issue, is
Yeah.
if you, it's not likely, given that people seem to be making themselves somewhat scarce, but if you get, well, like the meeting that I was at where that was raised, they were surprised, they ended up with about 15 people there on different issues that felt like they needed to be present physically. Well, the room was not that much larger than this, there was nothing they could do. So they went ahead and held the meeting as it was and just went on from there. And I don't know how to necessarily safeguard against that without precluding the public attendance and saying the only way you can attend is virtually. Open meetings requires people to be able to observe, does not necessarily guarantee their ability to raise their hand and speak. On the other hand, you also have the problem with, realistically, there are still those people in this world who are entitled to attend this meeting, not that they would, who don't have an iPad, who don't have a smartphone, who don't have a computer, who don't have an internet connection, and don't care to have. And so, are you able to secure and guarantee that they have access? Well, no, we really aren't. Then the question becomes, in the case of this kind of an emergency circumstance, can you obviate that right of attendance for a period of time? And that's been part of the ongoing conference call discussion for the last 7 days.
I know some of, like Tom, he doesn't. I doubt, well, I know, I'm sure that Randy Ison won't.
He's got a phone, so he's got internet on the phone.
Well, I don't know that they have the capabilities of using it. I mean, I don't think they, I do know for a fact that Tom has the capability of using it, but he won't use it. He don't know how to use it. He doesn't know.
That's just weird.
I mean, he has it, but he doesn't know how to use it.
He won't use it.
Whatever his choice is, I don't know. But you can't text him.
If
Well, in an emergency situation, you know, there's gonna be some avenues that are gonna have to be bent a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it is.
No different than a lot of the MDs are just saying, okay, for a 2-week period of time or 3-week period of time or whatever, we're just not gonna meet absent an emergency circumstance that requires us to call a special meeting. And they're going that route, you know, just to make it really clean. But, you know, that's hard to know in a case like this where you're meeting weekly and staff has become used to that as well, and different things that require your approval and action, how well that could even be made to work.
See, I would go along with that if the courthouse was completely closed down and no staff is here, but the staff is here working, so why?
for now, that's what I'm saying though, how
Yeah.
long?
Yeah.
And if,
Well, and again, that would be something that we would make on those daily increments, if that, you know, if it gets worse, we might have to change that.
Hey, Diane.
yes, go ahead, Jonah.
Can you guys move your mics closer to each other? I'm getting requests that they can't hear, and I'm struggling to hear Diane.
he's asking you to speak into your microphone because he can't
Oh.
hear you.
Okay. Hello? Is that better?
Hold on, I had it turned off. I had it
That
all
would
turned
explain
off,
it.
not just yours.
Can you hear me now?
There we
That's
go.
good.
That's
Is that better,
We
Jonah?
can hear you, Diane.
Say it again.
Can you hear me now, Jonah?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Well, I just said that while the staff was here working, even though they're working behind closed doors, personally, I think a meeting with the commissioners being present is fine, and we can exercise distancing. Then when the staff is no longer here, then, because it was also brought up earlier that every so many days, just like the governor's order, every so many days you review where you're at, and if you want to prolong it, extend it, or make it more stringent, or relax it, whatever, every so many days. I hate to just close down the commission meetings at this point. We may have to going forward, but make that decision when it becomes necessary, was my comment.
I guess I see the IT option as a viable option. It makes things difficult. It's definitely not as easy to run a meeting not being physically there. In fact, I was glad Randy would take the meeting back over. But do have some options at our disposal, and it's the easiest social distancing there is. I mean, I'm a long ways away from you guys right now. But yeah, I do believe that we ought to evaluate weekly and see how the thing has changed.
Jonah, from your viewpoint there, what would be required for if one of us others goes down? What do you have in equipment there at home that I mean, I guess by the phone we can do it by the phone maybe, but so you're on your computer, right? And Skyping.
I am on the county issued computer right now. You
Okay.
have all the capabilities sitting right in front of you.
Oh, cool, good. I didn't know that. Thank you.
You're ready to go. You just got to download the go to meeting and you're on it.
Okay.
It's an app.
Okay.
And when you click on your meeting invite, it automatically will
Goes to,
initiate
yeah.
you to load it.
Okay. Guess that's
Tina's done some legwork.
That's our other
I'm
option.
sure Lloyd has done some legwork. It's been quite easy.
yes.
Good, I'm glad.
Cool. Good to know that. Decisions stand as we are right now for another till Monday. I mean, don't make nothing today, and keep that in mind. You talked about 7 days.
Well, I was repeating this,
yeah.
the governor.
The next thing is employees going home, and what is the rules about paying for these employees, and just so everybody's on board here with what's.
I think it's required.
Okay.
We don't have a choice.
For so long a time.
Yes, well, minimum of 2 weeks.
I haven't had a chance to really delve into that legislation that passed, because I
Right.
have been too busy with
Oh.
everything else,
Yes.
but, there is some legislation that was passed, there is some leave that has to be extended, so it is, 2 weeks of, I believe, of paid sick leave.
Yes.
That is
That's if
required,
you
and
get
that is
sick.
if the people are having symptoms, I believe.
Yep. They'd have to show substantiated
Harder
symptoms.
to go on.
And then right, and then, there are some other provisions that we have to do if somebody needs to be at home taking care of their children, or being away, cannot be at work due to the fact that schools are out and they need to be home. And that is 12 weeks of paid leave. And, that is, I believe the first 10 days can be unpaid, but which they could use their vacation or whatever if they have it.
First 10 days.
If they have it.
The one that, and Tina, you may know, I don't, in terms of they kept changing
Oh,
this.
sorry.
Hang on, Jonah. Hang on a second.
They kept changing this in the last couple of days in terms of how this was being done. One of the questions, which is going to be immediately germane to what you were mentioning, Randy, which is if employees wish to work from home, is it discretionarily permissible? I mean, can they say, I announce that I wish to do that and I'm going to? That was in there at one point. I don't know if it finally passed, because it was being debated about whether they were going to take that out of the hands of employers and leave it in the hands of each individual. so that you were like, okay, if they want to work from home and it's even feasible, then you have to let them. I don't know that yet.
There are certain people, I believe, that you would have to allow, which is if they have an underlying health condition.
Yes, and I would say I agree. The other kinds of things in terms of a primary caregiver, whether it's children or someone else, all of that was in there, and I do believe that passed. I just don't know if you take all of that out and it's just I would feel better and I'm safer and I can be effective working at home. I wish to do so, whether that is something that is approvable and required to be approved, or if they can simply make that election. That was in there at one point. I don't know.
Certain things, we have to pay at 2/3.
Yeah.
Rather than in full, and
Okay.
that I think is the option, is if they just decide.
I will take
Discretionarily.
Diane's second. Jonah, you started to say something there, and I had you hold up there, but go ahead with you, and then I'll go to Diane.
It was with Tina cleared it up. It's the 2/3,
Yeah.
pay for, family medical leave.
Okay?
Correct.
Okay, Diane?
So I do have a question. First off, how you determine feasible, because if you have a road grade operator and says, I wanna, work from home, I don't know how you determine some of it. Now that's an extreme example, but I'd like the definition of what is feasible, what can be done at home, what can't. And the second thing I wanna ask is, because we don't know how long this is gonna last, and I'm exceedingly concerned about the budget by paying employees, so I'm asking the commission, and I realize Tina said that they have to use for the first 2 weeks vacation or whatever they have, but can we extend that and make them use their vacation, especially if at the time that we go into that mode and it looks like it's gonna be something that's gonna last for several weeks or a month or whatever, can we review that and make them extend and use whatever sick leave or time or vacation they have available first and then pay them? I mean, do we have that option or that flexibility?
I think that's a valid question that's going to be yet to be determined. I really need to check to see how far that has gone.
Okay.
Understand that it's kind of been nonstop conference calls and meetings over the course of the last few days, and we keep going back and forth. And I've gotten 7 this morning from other, like county attorney or counselors and stuff. But what are you guys doing on? We're still trying to figure it out. I'll be honest.
I've had 4 employees or 5, and it goes from the person that's home, don't have no sick leave and have child at home.
Yep.
I've had, that was a concern. I've also had, go to the other end of this work employee that's got quite a few years in, got a lot of sick leave built up. And if they feel, their opinion to me was, if we send somebody home where we pay them, don't make me use mine unless you pay me like you do them. I mean, I've got both opinions there.
And I agree with it. I had one phone call from a person that, why should I use my sick leave? Why should I be punished because I got sick on my job, da-da-da-da. And
Yeah.
so my response was simply that this is something that we're not familiar with. This is our first rodeo, and we want to be fair to everybody. And while you're sitting at home watching cartoons, we need to try to be fair. And I'm thankful that you have acquired sick leave or vacation to help
Yes.
your financial situation. But in the same token, I said on the flip side, when the county budget is broke, then what are we gonna do to the employees? Because we don't know how long this is gonna last.
Well,
But,
Okay, there's also, can you hear me? Is it working?
get it a little closer.
Also, people are being furloughed so they can collect unemployment starting on day 1. And when you're furloughed, that means you'll be called back as soon as the work is available and things are happening. And the state has amended, there's no waiting period for unemployment.
Those are all options,
So that's what we're
that are
doing.
down the road if we have to use them. At least it is a tool, but,
You cannot rule them out.
no,
Right.
we can't rule them out, but, we can't operate like the federal government.
No.
One thing on the legislation that on parts of this leave, there's supposed to be an offset of
Mhm.
your employment taxes.
Mhm.
So, on your budget concern, Diane, they're requiring this. However, what we pay under this statute or this whatever it is,
Yep.
like federal law, they should give us a credit. I don't know if it's a full credit, but they should give us a credit off of what we would normally pay in on FICA, those
Okay.
taxes. So,
Okay.
so the budget impact is not going to be as large as it sounds.
There's even been, and again, it's still being discussed, what do we do in terms of, you get to that point, for example, on certain line items where your budget authority is what it is. You passed it according to what you knew at the time a year ago, basically. And there's even a discussion about, will we in some way give some relief or dispensation on that without, like budget amendments and those kinds of things. So there's any number of those things. It's not as though there's not an awareness. We just don't know what they're going to do yet. In the course of the last 5 days, they've just kind of been, everyone's reacting, and we're still waiting to see what they're going to do with some of that stuff.
One question I bring up is that over the period of time, employees has been hired because they're either counterload or their workload due to when we have people come in. Now, through this time, this next 5-6 weeks, hopefully 5-6 weeks is a long time, but those same employees, do we have the work for them to stay? I mean, the question, and I would have to ask my department heads. But without singling out any person right now, I'm not going that far, but I'm saying 5 or 6 weeks down the road, that there is some situations maybe next 2 weeks it needs to be looked at, because thank you for saying something about the furlough, Dave.
Furloughs,
Yeah.
might,
There's a potential also maybe to reassign some people. So where, because I know that some of the hospitals are already reaching out, people are wanting delivery drivers. They're wanting things curried from hospitals to labs, and so emergency management and the health department and we've already started putting together a list of potential people who are willing to be reassigned and what their availability is.
That's great.
So those, I mean, some people could potentially be reassigned because their regular duties would not be as busy as
Correct.
they used to be, or may not be necessary at this time.
and, as we learned last week, we're gonna have to shuttle those tests.
Yeah.
So being able to do that in-house would be, a good thing.
I think, Tina, I don't think that is there any commissioner would have any problem for stepping up to reassign some of our employees, and if they don't want the reassignment, then they'll probably go home.
I have no problem with that
You
at
can
all.
be furloughed like
Yeah.
unemployment.
So, I don't think we can make them, but, if that's what, but if we ask and they refuse it for something health-wise or something to that effect, I think, we'd really be interested in hearing the case and seeing what we need to do. Jonah, do you have any input?
I would not volunteer for that anyway, so they would be best suited for themselves.
Right, if there are people that are at risk, higher risk, they definitely shouldn't be volunteering for that. Although, that it's my understanding there would be biohazard precautions taken with transporting. However, you still have to go to those places that potentially would be hazardous,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Dave?
When you transport the goods, they're all wrapped up in a case and they come to the front door. They do not the hospital puts it in your vehicle, and at the other end, they take it out of your vehicle.
So there's low
There's no
risk.
exposure to the person.
I forgot, Dave has done some of this already.
I did a test run.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes, yes, cool.
It's just 3 hours on the road,
Okay.
and McDonald's is not open.
Not even the drive-through?
The drive-through is.
I was gonna say.
The restroom's closed and.
Oh, that's true. That's a good
They're
point.
closing a lot of the restrooms along the roadsides
they're-
too.
they're remodeling.
That's a KDOT issue already about closing.
I find it ironic,
roads.
however, they are loosening the regulations for liquor stores. You can go out on the driveway and
Oh,
in
yeah.
the parking lot and buy now.
You think they have a strong lobby?
Okay, Jonah? Go ahead, Jonah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, due to the KDHE, they laid it out on the 18th. All the self-quarantine and
forcibly quarantine, and we don't want it to come to that. We just need the public to volunteer, and it's just a little bit of time. I mean, it's hard to do, but it's a little bit of time.
Yes, okay.
I'd like to say something on one of our meetings. I would like everybody to have the temperature taken in the hallway before they come into this room.
Oh, I think that's extravagant. I wouldn't like that. I'd like my doctor to take my temperature.
Well, I mean, just, if you got temperature, you can spread the disease.
You can spread it even if you don't have
Oh,
a
yeah, I know,
temperature.
right.
Yeah.
But we have actually gone to daily asking staff health questions.
That's good. Well, maybe we should
We need
ask
to
some
probably
questions.
do that
Do
too
that
here.
same for the commission.
Because a while ago, somebody just walked in and walked out, you know, without, just protect us.
Keep all this in mind, and we've got to make some decisions, and going forward, and whether it spikes on up or gets worse, or what it does, curve flattens out or whatever, we're gonna have to deal with whichever is fed to us, so. Decisions today, Tina, do you need something today? I mean, anything?
If the board is ready to make some decision about closure, that would be great to have sooner than later.
You want to lock 2 doors, is that 1 door for entrance?
Well, if we're gonna
What's the
close
point
down,
of
they're
that?
all locked.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
One of the things that came up at my meeting that I had on Wednesday with the different commissioners was almost, and I don't want to diminish anything, and it's very serious, and I realize we need to be smart, wise, and prudent. But also, we need to not be jumping off the deep end. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to cause more hysteria, because that also is creating a trickle effect. And so, that was another thing that we need to take caution about too. And I do worry, and I know people's lives come first. But also I'm wondering what Marion's gonna look like after a couple of weeks. I mean, some of our businesses are very frail anyway. But as far as in here is concerned, in other meetings and stuff like that, what was done in that meeting, they didn't tell me any of those commission meetings or anything that were being locked down or anything like that. Nothing was ever indicated that at all at this point. So, personally, I know when I'm sick, and if I'm sick, I would do what Jonah's doing.
But it's very sad that we know of 2 people that had a fever and run around Council Grove and the steakhouse in Strong City.
Didn't they go on a cruise as well?
They went to the cruise,
I mean,
come
was that
home, and they just
stupid
got
or
home
what?
sometime in March.
Mhm.
And as Kent said, there's county clerk and there's other people totally frustrated with those people that did that.
Yeah.
But even though those people, they surely knew. I mean, they had to know what's going on around this and stuff.
People just aren't thinking now.
No.
But you have to take for granted that that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
They've had a person in New Jersey walk out of the hospital and can't find them. Maybe they have now.
I think I've heard of nut cases like that a long time ago already. You had some, wasn't that a big story a couple of years back that somebody in the psycho ward walked out and they couldn't find him for a while?
Well,
But,
I think right now with what we're services, I mean, we have people in the departments, but the highest traffic that we would see probably right now would be into the treasurer's office. State licensing is closed. You can still call, still get online.
What will they be able to do when that's closed? Will that office do anything?
they'll do as much as they can,
Yeah.
but, really,
Does that come back to your office and, with the state closing?
they won't have all of their processes running at the state. They're running partial processes, so some of the motor vehicle processing will be run sporadically, maybe. Some of the automatic things that are gonna run.
Right.
They're gonna be somewhat limited on what they can do.
so with the highway patrol and the sheriffs and stuff, when they pull me over and my driver's license is expired, will I get a free pass?
No.
They are talking about that, but at this
Um,
time, I don't know if there's been anything
Judge
specifically
Powers
addressing that.
Called me yesterday. I went up yesterday morning, just give him a message, call me whenever he had time. So I thought maybe this might have been why he showed down here, because I asked him if there was anything that had changed in his views and stuff, and he says, we'll still put people in jail, but only if, according to that federal deal, only if it's a higher level case. If you're waiting for your divorce from your husband, you're probably still gonna be waiting. If you're waiting for test.
Unless you get too irate about it and develop a DV case, a domestic battery, where they get after each other, they will prosecute that and they will jail you.
Okay.
So-
Well, yeah, I think.
But he didn't go on down to the traffic driver's license and tell me, but
Well, somebody asked me that question, I'm like,
Yeah.
So what do people do in the day in the courthouse? Are we fully staffed or half-staffed or?
Well, in my office,
Does it
we are
matter?
going down, we've been trying to rotate because I have
Keep the distance.
that, and so we're getting ready to go into the cycle of paying bills, doing the payroll. We are in the process of getting an election set up and ready for August, whatever that's gonna look like. So we have a lot of essential functions that are still happening. I am set up and readied and able to convert the majority of those functions to allow staff to continue to provide those services from remote locations. There is some that we will have to still be on site physically to do, but that is not as far as, that's not gonna need to be all the time. Okay, so we're ready to be able to provide services even if no one is here. Treasurer's office is, as of right now, they are still fully staffed. They have not, to my knowledge, done any division or rotation of staff at this
Do all their
point.
business by mail?
Pardon me?
They'll do their business by mail?
Well, yeah, you can do a lot of the, like tax payments, renewals, those kind of things can all be done online. They can also be done by mail, and right now, we're not doing those services in person. We are, the only services they're providing in person right now, after the individuals call or email for an appointment and answer some health screening questions, they are coming in for titles. And that portion, I don't know how it's gonna be affected by the state shutdown, because that's where they usually need the support. So they won't have anybody at the state level to assist them with that process. And even if you close down completely, people could still call potentially for an appointment. I'm not sure, without Janine or Kathy being in here,
Right,
to know
right.
exactly what they will be able to provide. But
Yeah.
as of right now, we're not providing driver's license services, we're referring people to online. The state driver's license is closed.
It's shut down
Right.
statewide.
We're not doing any, so like the only things we should be doing in person, or that they are doing in person over there right now, is title work for vehicles. Court is not doing any in-person business.
I forgot to give the commission an update the next day when you held your department head meeting. I think every department head was sitting in here and very interested. I mean, they was all with it, talking from the sheriff to all elected people, I think, was in here.
I think we had, and yeah, Randy popped in at the very end of that, but we had every department represented, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah.
It was a very good meeting, and they're all listening and wondering what's going, where we're headed. So, I think, really, I have no problem, but if their background is gonna shut down, maybe one to maintain the office, if we decide to maintain people in here. Otherwise, if we shut down, why, like shut the building, why, and you're not at that point yet, I don't think, Diane, from the way I don't think Kent is, from what he's explained. unless he has
Well,
to-
that was the question I was gonna ask. Do we wanna lock it down for a week and then look at it?
No. I think-
Just a question I'm throwing out there.
Like, me personally, I'd like to continue on, letting each department kind of stagger and take care of things and
Okay.
get more prepared each day.
Can you hear Jonah?
be prepared each
Yeah,
day.
yeah, I'm just seeing it, basically, so we can continue operations without the courthouse right now, is what you're saying?
Yes, really the only area that is going to struggle with that a little bit is the Register of Deeds office, because not all of their records are available online. However, that can be handled by appointments. If somebody has to physically review those records, they would be able to do that.
I mean, there's lots of businesses that depend on the outside business, depends on the courthouse.
Your
Is that right?
connection's getting a little choppy.
But I mean, even if we lock down, if somebody made an appointment, can somebody go open the door for them?
Yes.
Yeah, you're talking about just shutting the door
Yeah,
with
just lock them all.
with employees
Uh-oh.
here
Right.
and.
That was really what I was asking.
Doing the rotating
Okay.
staff.
Right?
All right, Jonah, can you hear what's going on?
Hear us, Jonah? Maybe not.
He was calling.
He's calling.
It's getting a little choppy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mute one of them.
Ooh. Two strings in a can.
I think your phone does a
Okay.
better job than that
I
does.
think it cleared up low.
Okay.
So, I didn't catch the part that you were saying as far as the courthouse, basically except for the Register of Deeds, right?
Right.
Because
Jonah, what I was saying is,
still allow that office.
maybe Katie.
We can still allow that office with some social distancing. And then that would minimize the amount of people at one time in the courthouse.
Well, and we can do that with whether you, I mean, it's irrelevant whether you continue to have the interior doors shut or whether you lock the outside doors. But I don't know that it makes a lot of sense if people are walking into the courthouse. Are you there?
he's moving.
I don't know if it makes a lot of sense for people to walk in, have to stand in the hallway and call for an appointment and then maybe can take care of their business or maybe not. What's the difference of having them stand outside the building itself?
Right, I think,
It's
yeah.
the same, I
To
mean,
me, that makes some more sense. Call in. Drive up here in the parking lot or call from home and say, I need an appointment.
Then who will operate the doors to let them in?
Each department.
whatever department they are,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They'll know such and such is coming at a certain time.
yeah,
With the phone numbers are on the door so they can call.
right.
How about I see our payday meeting is the 31st?
Well, we have a meeting on Monday too.
Well, just hang on a second.
Yeah. We got the weekend, who knows what we're gonna have over the weekend.
Okay, what about if we have our meeting on Monday and we try this situation for the next, from even through Monday's meeting, but yet we have to have open to the public, you said, so Monday's meeting with days would be, the meeting doors would be open for somebody to come up here. And, but we try that from the 23rd through the 31st to see,
Are you talking about locking the door?
locking the door to where they have to call, and each department head can shuffle help. But we also have to look, we have outside departments out here too. Is that the same for everything, not just the courthouse?
Right.
We've already kind of dealt with the outside departments. Right now, that's what this building is already doing.
Okay,
So the extension office and ambulance business office are already they're already locked.
okay,
Planning and zoning is already by appointment.
okay.
So they're already locked. So.
Sheriff has somebody there.
Sheriff has
Yeah.
got to do what they've got to
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
The Park and Lake, we have not shut. We've left that open. Now, we could potentially make an adjustment there. The weed department is by appointment only, so they're locked. The transfer station, the way we have been handling that so far is it's open, and people drive in, they take care of their own trash. The employees are not touching the people's trash, and then they're pushing it. And then they're practicing social distancing. They were supposed to be getting some hand sanitizer over there for the people that work there. I need to check and see if they were had success with that. But
Okay, and then health department.
the health department, I spoke to Deidre this morning, and as of right now, they're open. They are considering what they're gonna do there too. They're talking about potentially closing to public, the same way that the other offices are.
Okay.
So what we're talking about is the main facility
Yeah.
at this point. And I would be in favor of that, locking that down.
Dave, you're apparently in favor of that too. Diane?
Oh, wait.
I mean,
Jonah's talking, I'm
no,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Jonah, I didn't hear you.
I said I'll make a motion to go ahead and lock down the courthouse, keeping essential services, alive through, IT and mail-in options.
Okay, till when, from when till when?
31st.
For, I think our statute only allows us 7 days, so it's gonna have to be, just till Monday. I mean, that's not really anything, but we can always renew it from Monday to Monday.
I don't think we have to. Brad's shaking his head that you don't have to limit it that much.
No, that was.
I think you can close any time period you want.
Okay, so we can go from now till the 31st?
That's what I was looking at, Jonah.
Okay,
That's your motion?
that's my motion.
I'll second that motion. From courthouse be locked down, call in by either a phone to get in and make an appointment, or translate through IT-wise, however we can do that, from now till January 31st.
March.
Or March 31st, yeah. Is there any additions that, corrections there on that? Or anything, anybody else has any discussion before we go ahead and vote for it?
Starting at 5 o'clock tonight, or?
Yes. Yeah, we have to start at 5 o'clock tonight. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jonah?
Aye.
Okay. 5-0. That's a start. We'll see, that's our test period, see what happens, see what the world's around us like.
So Monday's commission meeting though, we're gonna meet,
The building has to be open while we're meeting.
okay.
Has to be opened up
I mean,
at, so
all-
do we have to
all
open it
doors?
up at 8:45, or do we need to set a time where that would be open?
Just, you have to obviously that-
Otherwise, we all wait till 9 and come in, of course.
Yeah.
Are we
we're
gonna
already
do
past
any,
9.
implement anything as far as, physically, can we say if they have symptoms or if they need to be following
Okay.
whatever guidelines there are, so I don't know about screening for that. So Brad, I need you to.
Yeah,
offer
and
some
I'm not
guidance
answering that,
on
that's
that.
pragmatic. The answer is yes, you have the ability to go ahead based upon that administrative order, we follow that. And so if we want to go ahead and establish some protocol for screening, or whatever that may be, or not, that's your decision.
Out of the questions asked, then, if anybody answers no, at that point, can the department head or whoever's talking say, will not be allowed? If they answer no.
Well, whoever is going to be regulating it, I mean, whether that's
Well,
your
each
health
department, the way
department.
we've got it set up is.
I think the question was about the meeting, though.
Oh, about the meeting.
Right.
Okay.
If they come
Yeah, I
in.
think
And do we set up a questionnaire at one, I mean, we're probably gonna open one door. So we should probably do it at the doorway opening, not up here in the main lobby.
Then you'll have to assign someone to go
Get
in.
one of the sheriff deputies to monitor during the commission meeting.
It's to be a whole lot of layers,
Wow.
but yeah, you gotta do something if you're gonna go ahead and institute
I
a
don't know if we
protocol.
still have Jonah.
And then do we have to delegate authority for that person to turn a person away?
I'm still here.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, if they answer a question, you know, that they've been out of the country, and we say, no, I'm sorry.
What are the questions that they're asking, do you know?
No, it's the hospital.
It's changing all the time.
They keep adding
So,
questions to it.
because it's an unfolding situation, so that's why
I thought
it's
that.
changing
I
all
just
the
asked
time.
what are the questions at this time that they're asking?
I don't have it in front of me, but I can give you generally what they are.
There's certain
They're
states-
asking, if you have a fever or have had a fever within the last 48 hours, I believe. They are asking, have you traveled? And then those travel questions are constantly being updated. They're asking if you've had any, exposure to anyone that is,
Has tested positive.
yeah, I think that.
Yeah, I know, yes.
I can go get one of the pages because I don't wanna answer you incorrectly, but there is a little questionnaire that we have to ask, and that the employees are supposed to be also answering every day.
You've been exposed to anyone under quarantine.
Yes, that's part of it
Not,
also.
not the positive test, just a quarantine.
Right.
I could have brought, Diane, I'll give you some, I don't know what they ask at the call center, but I'll give you what I have to ask when I go on a quarantine situation.
Okay.
And I've got some out there. But,
I really like this, guys, give me.
I've been watching you.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Have you had it, so this is the most recent
Yeah.
one that I've had. Have you had
This
a
is
temperature
bad.
greater than 100 degrees or felt feverish, chills, body aches in the last 48 hours? Do you have an unexplained cough? Do you have a new onset of feeling short of breath? Have you been out of the country in the last 30 days? Have you been out of Kansas in the last 30 days? And if they answer yes to either one of those, then we go into the travel questions. Have you had close contact with anyone who has been out of the country or tested positive for the coronavirus? And so this was the most recent questionnaire that I have received. And then the travel questions have been updated since this form.
So if somebody answers the question that says, yes, I've been out of the country in the last month, because I know we had an employee that was. So what do we do? Then you go into the travel questions.
That's
what the
right,
answer
and
was.
if they answer yes to any two of those at the bottom, then we have to get authorization to allow clearance.
Sir, do you have a fever, or have you traveled out or anything to enter this meeting? You're okay?
I
think I'm okay.
Okay. all
If
right.
they answer yes to number one, they're automatically not allowed to be at work or to come
Oh,
here.
cough.
We redirect them and
Yeah,
say,
I heard
seek
that.
services
Okay.
another day, so.
With this, did you happen to be watching?
Yes.
Okay. And your sheriff's department has been mentioned, but also a possibility, what I think Kent said, or somebody said about sheriff's officer being at the door, and
Who's gonna be responsible to be at the door to take that questionnaire and have the authority to say, no, turn around?
Would any of the commissioners like to volunteer?
And this is only for,
Sorry.
this is only
Yeah, I
Monday,
would.
I'm in the danger group.
but this is only Monday for the meeting,
Yeah.
meeting times.
Right.
Yes.
The rest of the building will be shut down, all of our buildings will be shut down except for this meeting will be open down here at the
This
south
from 8 to
door.
noon, huh?
Probably, yeah. or
When
whatever.
is your meeting?
Monday morning,
Monday
9
morning?
o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Where?
be the south door right down here for handicap.
I could probably try to have somebody there if we need.
How many
I'd
days
probably
you don't have a
only be,
fever?
what, an hour at the most,
Yeah.
Well,
for have somebody there?
depends on how long our meeting is.
Well, I mean,
You would need them there the whole time because
Yeah.
people can
The
come
whole
to the
time.
meeting at
okay,
any time.
all right.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be
So
8 to
Eight
noon,
to
8 to
nine.
noon, I'd say.
I can probably make.
Okay,
Yeah.
hopefully after this next Monday, we're going to the payday meeting then,
Okay.
and it would probably be that day would probably be to the 31st, and we're gonna reevaluate at that time, see where we go. Thank you. If Tina, if they need to have, if we want somebody with the questions there, and then just the officer present, or do you want the officer to? I mean, that's here again. I would pull one of our reassigned, just like this right here, if they wanted to. If they didn't, you know, this is, to me, I would reassign one of our employees and put them down there with them. Well, you gotta have.
Oh, with him, do you have to have two?
Well, you don't have to. Okay.
Is it wise, is what you're saying?
Yeah, is it wise
It
to
would
have?
be wise to have two, just
Right.
because if one's focused on this and somebody's slipping by and
Yeah.
and whatnot, it'd just be much easier.
Got somebody rowdy that you have to take care of.
That would be
And
me.
if somebody has to be moved out, you can still process through.
If the sheriff's officer had to go, he goes. I mean, you
Yeah,
got a situation.
I'll plan on having somebody here.
Yeah. Okay. Now, do you want the commission to pick a person from any department, or do you want to take care of that?
I don't know that you,
I thought you'd have somebody volunteer, ask somebody to volunteer,
Okay.
rather than even be in.
Do we need to discuss at all about how many commissioners in the room physically present? I mean, I think one person definitely needs to be there, just to handle, authorities to sign, papers and stuff like that, but, I mean, can we mitigate some of that, of having too many people in the room, or?
Oh,
Hang on a second, Jonah. Right now, I don't know. Kent asked how good, he's asked before, how good his reception would be at his house if he was had.
Just haven't tried, so.
Okay.
we can do a test meeting, at some point. If
With
anybody
individuals.
wants to test from home, we could just do a test.
Super.
Just let me know, and I can set up a test go-to meeting just with you on, and maybe try to get an employee on or something to test it and see how it works for you from your
Cool,
home.
cool. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's wise to just mitigate some of our own exposure. I mean, we're talking about keeping the staff from having all their eggs in one basket. Probably wouldn't hurt for us to think the same.
What do you think about that, Brad?
in terms of the ability,
Well, we have the ability, but is it wise or necessary? I mean, would we not be the smartest ones to know when we're sick and just not come? I mean, look what Jonah's doing right there. Perfectly good example.
yeah, you can't use that though, because
That's required.
Well, that's
the
true.
ability to be exposed and contagious, to pass it along, occurs well before you typically, you could be completely asymptomatic, feel great. Matter of fact, you may never feel bad, and you still can be testing positive for it.
So
and
you
you've
can
got a
have
number of
help
people
because you've
that-
been meeting with other people out of county.
The temperature, using that as your gauge, is about 50% effective or so, and that's a sliding scale too. I mean, you can be running a fever or not, and still pass it along. So
So no
it's
matter what we do, we're not gonna be 100%.
Right.
We're not gonna be, it's not foolproof.
Yeah, in terms of meetings, I mean, the ability for us, the short form answer to that is, we have the ability, you can legally attend a meeting remotely by calling in, or in this case, particularly with the ability to use GoToMeeting or something, so that's permissible, you can go that route, you have that opportunity. What we end up doing, though, the greater challenge is it's an open meeting, so somehow we have to allow the public access as well.
And we've all been exposed to each other now, so we might as well come again next week.
Mhm.
Jonah, is
Unless you
your,
have symptoms.
is your deadline before the 31st for you?
Yeah, I'm actually, if I follow the last potential contact I had with anybody, not a known source or anything, just somebody I know, it's the 28th, the afternoon of the 28th.
Okay, okay.
So, and I've actually called, just for your guys' update, I've called, and the people that I know up there, nobody is showing any symptoms or having anything, so.
Yeah. Would it be too much for us to ask just for penalize you, just to keep you at home?
Yeah, I've been here, and it's really not been that bad.
Unless you haven't seen his wife now for a while.
On the internet, it's been a little rough.
I'm sure your wife wants to get home at some point.
But even spacing out here, that's something that it could be done too. I mean, I don't know what the mics will reach, whether they've got cords on them long enough to, if we spaced out some.
If you all would start bringing your computers, you could log in, like Jonas said, into the meeting with your computer, and then you'll have the microphone. Your voice will be magnified through your computer microphone. So you could potentially, Randy, you could sit over there with the TV tray, have your computer up, see your face, and hear your voice into the meeting.
Okay. Okay.
You could sit in your truck even.
Yeah. I see, first time I've seen a customer go in there today, into the register of deeds. And she's calling,
But it
using the phone.
would be better if they were doing that outside.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would be less frustrating maybe
Yeah,
for
sure.
them.
Sure.
Everybody's a little gun shy now, don't know what to do.
So, did we vote on that, Tina?
Yes, you had a vote
Okay,
to
okay.
lock down, keep essential services alive through IT and mail options, and until the 31st.
And thanks to the sheriff, gonna help us take care of the south door at the meeting days from 8 till noon, anyway. And I'd like for you to find somebody, and if you need some help with that, I guess just call or something, whatever.
Nobody will do it, one of us will do it.
Then we won't be able to be at the meeting.
Well, you could take a computer down there.
Computer down, yeah.
Take a computer, I guess. And,
You probably need a hotspot out there because the limestone walls are pretty
Yeah.
thick between.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stand by the door, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, Monday's meeting, that's
We'll
why
do it as we go.
we'll try it, see what happens Monday's meeting. Is there, and I'm trying to wind this down a little bit, is there anything else that we need to move along with here today?
Just very quickly, Tina and I both alluded to this, and I asked my paralegal to send this over. Some of it is mine, some of it is from others. That emergency paid sick leave, just for clarification, this is as close to current and accurate as I can get it at the moment. Under the Act, governmental employers provide each employee, except for healthcare providers or emergency responders, be provided paid sick leave and on anyone who's unable to work in person or via telework. And again, that's going to get back to that, is it, the feasibility thing, I still haven't answered for that. The employee be subject to federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation. The employee has been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine. The employee is experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 and seeking a medical diagnosis. The employee is caring for an individual who is subject to quarantine or isolation order related to COVID-19. The employee is caring for a son or daughter of such employee if the school or place of care of the son or daughter has been closed, or the child care provider of such son or daughter is unavailable due to COVID-19 precautions, or the employee is experiencing any other substantially similar condition specified by the Secretary of Health and Human Services in consultation with the Secretary of the Treasury and the Secretary of Labor. Paid leave must be paid in the following amounts. Full-time employees, 80 hours. Part-time employees, the number of hours equal to the number of hours that such employee works on average over a 2-week period. Different caps on the total payment, 511 per day and 5,110 in the aggregate, which gets back to your question, Diane, about how far we're going to have to go with this. Person subject to quarantine or having COVID symptoms, $200 per day and $2,000 in the aggregate for an employee caring for another person. An employer may not require, this was added in, the employee find a replacement employee to cover the hours during which the employee is using paid sick leave, and an employer may not require an employee to use other paid leave provided by the employer to the employee before the employee uses this special COVID-19. It comes first.
Yeah.
Okay. Government employers will not be reimbursed for this through payroll tax credits like private employers will be.
Okay,
Yeah.
X my earlier statements.
Yeah.
Budget concerns back.
Wages required to be paid under the emergency sick leave provisions will not be subject, however, to the 6.2% Social Security payroll tax.
Oh,
So we get that.
okay.
This keeps changing. That wasn't the case 3 days ago, 4 days ago. Each employer will be required to post a notice prepared by the Secretary of Labor, which must be ready by March 25th, it's Wednesday. Failure to comply with this act will be punishable under the Fair Labor Standards Act. I've got 3 more pages here, the rest of which I
Can
don't
we
need
get
to
a copy of
read.
that? We can
Yes.
answer questions that
I just
our
had,
people.
I keep adding to the summary,
Mhm.
and so I just had texted her and said, send me that, because I don't want to try to do it from memory.
Right. Yeah, but that's interesting, some of that information, you know, we do get questions and we can answer
Yeah.
Okay,
questions.
this,
and-
sorry, this, audio connection is lost, so it says it's attempting to reconnect audio.
That's the bad part about this, it's a good deal, but it's not a good deal.
What's our internet service? I mean, it is not reliable in Marion, Kansas. Or it's just,
Okay.
kinda like the roads in Kansas, it's just,
I'm gonna ask commission, is there anything that they're on their list that we need to talk to address
Okay,
today?
I think Joan is gonna call in, we've lost the connection again.
I'm sure we'll have more questions by Monday,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
because it's just changing.
It isn't good, it'll change to the weekend.
You have plan to be here on Monday? You're here on Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
hello?
Hello. Says Tina logged out.
Yeah.
And
I didn't log out. I'm still
I
in
don't know, it must have lost connection, I guess.
We're getting ready to adjourn.
Okay.
You got anything?
No, I just didn't catch most of what Brad said, but
Oh, man.
Are you gonna, how are you gonna get us a
Yeah,
copy of that?
I'll
since it's a
I'll
text?
just go ahead and email everybody.
It's about what you pay the
Okay.
employees and stuff like that.
New rules that he's got, Jonah, he just got them today sometime.
Yeah, it's a summary of what I've been preparing, and then I didn't print it off this morning because it keeps changing, and I thought I don't know how much to rely on, but I knew what I had put down so far are things that we have gotten confirmation about. So I will take that and fire that out to all of you.
Now, that's for everybody, I mean, private and government and everybody.
Yeah, I made some, no, yes and no. Much of it is, but there, I did highlight the part that are for governmental entities in this, because that's obviously what I do. And so it should be, when you read it, it should be self-explanatory in that regard. That sounds schizophrenic, doesn't it? Everybody else hearing voices, or is that just?
No, that's him.
Yeah.
He's back in line.
Kidding.
Okay. With that being said, Tina. you
Sorry,
have
I'm
it.
trying to,
Okay.
I was trying to mute that, but,
Don't be
okay.
scared to spank me and tell me that I haven't covered all.
Really, I think, I just wanted a decision on where you know, how you wanted to continue, with business. And then just, about the leave, you know, to talk about that, but, and allowing individuals to work from home as needed, which I think you addressed in your motion.
So everyone's clear.
Just mud.
I think so. And it's as of 5 PM today.
Yeah. What about our road and bridge department?
So, I guess it doesn't, you know, if they would still fall under this if they are experiencing symptoms, or if they're caring for someone, or if they've been recommended, I think, for quarantine, wouldn't you?
Yes,
Brad?
it would.
Okay.
So it'd be the same, but if none of those, situations exist, they should still be able to work, especially like your people that are out in sections.
Yes.
And you're gonna probably need to continue some road maintenance and those kind of things,
Right,
so.
right.
You don't want them to get farther behind.
And there is some on rainy days just taking sick leave and taking off, so. Okay.
Several yesterday.
I can't tell if anybody can hear.
With that being said,
I can still hear.
Okay, thanks.
I can hear.
one
Okay.
final statement, Jonah, you got anything you wanna throw in?
No, just, if we all pull together and hold on, we'll get through this thing.
Yes.
I am
so grateful for where I live. So,
Yeah, could have been in Colorado.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
well, I'm just thinking about my amenities I have here in wide open spaces. They aren't afforded those in the city, so.
yeah. I'd make a motion to adjourn with that being said.
Second.
Second by Kent. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, 5-0. Thank you for joining, Jonah.
Thanks for running the ship, Brandy.
Hey, no problem. We'll wait for you to get back.
All right.
You guys know the prisoners go now?
I'm sorry.
Do we know the prisoners go now?
We're keeping what we've got, but we're just trying not to add more if we can help it.
I understand.